What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Open Door Creative. Today, we're with someone who is taking the agency world by storm. We have Allie Kainz.
Hey guys.
So the reason I kind of made this channel is to help people get into advertising. So we dive right into people's stories of how they got there. So rewind time back to when you first started or even thought about advertising.
Ooh.
And how you got into it.
All right. Well, I was always kind of creative, like a creative kid. I just loved painting, anything like that. But when I was in high school, actually, there was this, we called it the Shack, because it was like this huge football stadium, and then there was this tiny little building. And I used to just paint there all the time. I was kind of the art kid in school.
You were that art kid.
I was that art kid. I mean, I was in sports too, but I was known for being the art kid. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at colleges, and my dad's a pharmaceutical salesman and my mom's a financial planner. So not exactly
super creative.
Oh yeah, the most creative. But I was like, hey guys, what if I painted in college? And they were like, no, like we're not gonna pay for you to paint. And I mean, best thing that could have happened, because they were kind of like, hey, what if you looked at something else that's like, a little, basically would get me a job. But It was the best thing that could have happened, because it's how I'd never thought about advertising or anything like that as a career. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I got into it, and I loved the challenges, and I just loved that it was, it was like solving a problem.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was kind of from there. I think that's really what started it for me. But the thing, I guess, that kind of I think is a little different is how many internships I did.
Okay.
I did a lot. I didn't
know this. I knew you had just the one here, but
no, that was my fourth one. So
wow, okay. Go through that.
Yeah. So I started actually at this was probably my sophomore year of college. It was this like small dress shop in Lubbock, where I went to school at Texas Tech, and it was like doing like their social media, clipping out models for like their images and stuff like that. But it was nothing like major, but it was a good way to start or whatever. And then I actually came to Dallas, and D Magazine has a little like marketing department called D Custom. It was a lot more publication, but it started getting me into the little like where I was like, oh, okay, advertising's cool. After that, I went to the Alumni Association of Texas Tech, and I was an intern for them, the design intern for all their like events and just anything like that. I had this craving for a big agency experience, and I just kept, I kept trying to check a box of being like, okay, I explored this route of a career, and I explored this one and this one with each internship. At this point, I had graduated, and I was like, oh, I need a job. I've had 3 internships.
You need to make that money.
Right, and it was like, how many internships do I have to do before I can, it was frustrating. Yeah. But I actually ended up meeting our Tracy Lock recruiter at DSVC, and it was like, and I was, I kept telling her, I was like, I want a full-time gig, but I ended up getting offered the internship, and I guess just like a leap of faith, I took it. And it was a cool way, because I got to figure out if big agency was where I wanted to be. And as soon as I got there, I was like, oh, this is what I want. This is what the other internships maybe didn't have. It's not that I wasn't happy with those, but
and were you deflated at all when you were like, I want that career, I want the job, but they're like, another internship, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, it hurts your pride. I mean, being honest, it does a little bit, because you just want so badly to feel like you're successful. But that's the thing, is that never, it's like you got to kind of cut yourself some slack, but also realize that those internships actually can be like, again, I would do it in a heartbeat, again, a million times over, to be able to have the experience I have now. And I mean, honestly, in that internship, I got to know a lot more people in the company than if I just started full-time. Because when you start full-time, sometimes you're just on your team, and it could be, in certain companies especially, a lot more siloed. And like, I kind of got to know everybody because of that. And so, but yeah, it was hard. And it was kind of one of those, I was like, okay, do I keep searching for full-time jobs that might be at a place that I, don't necessarily want to be, but at least it's a full-time job? And I was like, I don't know, I just had this good feeling that it was going to work out when they really explained the internship program to me.
Awesome. And so you said you were an art kid growing up. So like, did that translate well to Photoshop and Illustrator at first? Or like, were you did you get frustrated? Because a lot of people we've had so far actually weren't the most amazing artists growing up. It's funny, it's a misconception that you have to know how to do great art before you like learn the computer skills, because a lot of art directors actually aren't the best, drawers. How was that transition?
Ooh. I think Illustrator was probably the easiest one for me to get into, knowing, because since I still do it today, I used to do bubble letters and stuff when I was taking notes. I didn't realize that was lettering until much later, but
you were doing typography since you
and
were
I was
little.
Like, I had no clue. But so, getting into that and like transferring from paper to a digital platform, that kind of was easy for me to understand. Photoshop was a little bit different for me. I was kind of like, wait, what is this? But luckily my program was actually super like Adobe specific.
Oh, great.
So I got to know the programs really, really well.
That's very good.
Yeah, it was, if anything, I knew that with the internship way more than I knew anything about advertising and like how that part worked. And, you know, I knew about how to concept and stuff, but not necessarily for an advertising purpose. It was more like, let's have a strong concept so that this poster makes sense. And instead of it being like, hey, how are we going to sell this product to these people with this, you know, like.
Yeah. It's a different way of thinking.
Yeah. But it was, all of a sudden I realized I was like, oh, okay. I like this because it's like a constant challenge, which is really cool.
Awesome. So you got the internship at Tracy Lock, and then what happened after that? How'd you turn it into a job?
So I started as an intern on Pizza Hut. And like the second day we were going to lunch, and I asked one of the guys that I was talking to, I was like, oh, were you an intern last year? And he was like, no, I'm the creative director. And I was like, wait, whoa.
And you were like,
and I was mortified because I was like, well, I'm gonna pack my bags now. This was fun. But it was like, I got in with a team that was really accepting and like put me, I felt like I was full time, and they treated me just like another member. And so I kind of just tried to put 150,000% towards it every single day and like learn, you know, I didn't even know what a clipping mask was when I first, but then I was doing emails, and so then I was like, gotta learn it, like learn on the fly and kind of be like okay not knowing, but also not be okay with it by seeking out the information. You just got to stay proactive with it. But I think that was having that kind of a team mentality where they weren't like, oh, intern, you're only here for the summer, I'm not going to bother with you. That never happened for me. And so it was kind of, all of a sudden I felt, you know, I was like, my stuff was going out and it was like getting produced, and I was like, I just never thought that would happen as an intern. I was like, wait, what? This is awesome. And then, you know, I tried to, presenting has always been something that I have enjoyed, and, you know, I have a little bit of a knack for, sort of, but it was a way for me to get my name out there. And so I tried really hard in just everything I did to kind of deliver the best thing I possibly could to kind of try to make an impression.
And I think your presentation skills really stood out. I mean, so when Allie was an intern, she went above and beyond than just doing the ask that she was asked to do every day. She really made an effort when they presented at the end of each week to go up to random people in the agency. She approached me, I was on a different team, and asked me for advice on how she did and stuff. So everyone kind of took notice of what she was doing, because she was being so proactive and wasn't just great, you know, skill-wise, but she was slowly building relationships with kind of everybody at the agency.
Well, because that's the thing, is it's like you have to be a sponge as much as you can, because even though there might be people that aren't your job title, aren't even, you know, like someone in strategy or someone in media or someone in, and you can, if you kind of go into it knowing you can learn something from everyone, and that everyone could give you some sort of, you know, obviously you try to give them what you have too, but at the beginning it might not be that much. But, you know, just really trying to take that opportunity, because they've all been there, and they're like, oh yeah, because now with me having other interns that are coming up to me and asking me questions and stuff, it's cool because I want to do what was done for me.
Exactly.
So, like, but being sure enough in yourself just to be like, what's the worst that can happen? They just tell me to come back later. Like, you know, it's honestly, it's like just taking that initiative and step a lot of times is really positively received.
100%. So for those getting into advertising, what advice do you have for them?
Ooh, you should go into advertising if you have a passion for it. I will say, I think that is a huge, huge thing, because it can be very stressful at times and time consuming. But for those of us that have like that fire, you know, where you kind of, you're thinking about it all the time and you're kind of feeling that challenge and that kind of rising up to the occasion, if that's how your personality is, and like you really feel passionate about it, that is going to get you through any late night or any, you know, hard day at work or anything like that. So I say go into it if you feel like you love it, and, you know, be willing to accept it if you don't love it, and, like, you know, just be open to whatever career you need to be, because you don't want to force that either, because you don't want to be miserable, honestly.
And I think that's so big too, because the best people that we work with are not necessarily the most skilled people at the beginning. They're the people that want it the most and have that drive, and that's what is contagious and kind of overpowers that overall skill set.
100%. Because that's the thing, is like you can teach all the skills. You'll learn. I'm literally still learning shit all the time. And I'm like, half the time I'm like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. And later on I'm like, can't teach that motivation and that drive, and like people notice that, and it brings up the level of everybody around you too. And so you notice like those kind of people stand out in the industry. I mean, they stand out in any industry, but especially in advertising. It's so cool if you can try to keep that as much as possible and really just keep surrounding yourself with other people that have a passion and a drive for stuff, you honestly is the best thing you could have above anything else.
100%. Do you have anything you want to plug, like your website or?
Honestly, you're gonna laugh. Not really.
Not really.
No.
She's got nothing to plug.
Nothing.
First one.
Nothing.
There's a first on Open Door Creative.
I suck.
So totally fine. Well,
I'm working on it.
What's your email in case someone wants to ask you for some advice?
Yeah, no, of
questions?
course. It would. It's AlliePritty, ALLIE.PRIDDY@tracylock.com. There's also my Gmail. Same thing in the front. Gmail in the back.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Allie.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it. See y'all later.
Bye, guys.